king, master of the elements, fire, ice, lightning, nature, void, arcane.
Yo, what's good? We are back with another build video. As you can tell by the intro, this is the avatar build where we will be harnessing all 6 of the elements for a crazy build. This is definitely a cook. I wanted to incorporate a bow build with the flail, just with, the buffs and everything. I don't know. It just felt like something that could be interesting to mess around with, and I don't know, the gameplay can get stale running the same stuff, so it's always fun to mix it up and find something new to play with. So that's what I did with this build. I just wanted to use artifacts I've never used before, a weapon I've never used before, so it was definitely just to kind of mix things up, and it's incredibly strong. I've got so many clips that I can show after we kind of run through everything to show how strong this is, but we'll start by going through the video with the build to start and clips at the end, so let's get into it. Weapon-wise, we are running the Power Stone Flail. This build focuses around debuffs on top of the elements, so that's kind of the duality of the build. So the main perk on Power Stone is if you're above 90% health. So basically, if you're full health, your attacks cause 20% weaken for 5 seconds, and it works on both weapons. So obviously running the bow, that allows you to apply a decent amount of weaken to your target before that fight even starts. Just with your normal attacks, getting 20% weaken to start things off is very strong. So I just kind of thought that would be a cool, I don't know, I thought it could be a cool way to incorporate that into this build. So I went with the Power Stone. I know a lot of people offhand think that I'm running Odo, which is the one that does more damage when you knock them down. But I do think that this one's actually stronger overall and what it can bring to a fight. So split it with ice damage because we are running elemental band with this. The flail naturally does that arcane damage, so you're able to get the arcane damage, ice damage from the split, and then as you can see, the cook, I put Shirking Abyss on there so that you can deal that void damage and trigger the void damage, because that's the only way I'm able to get that in this build. But those are the 3 elements that we get from the flail: is Shirking Abyss for the void damage, natural damage of arcane, and then split it with the ice gem, so that we're able to cover those 3 elements. With the bow, we're running a lightning gem to split it, so that covers the lightning damage aspect of elements. Explosive shot obviously will give us the fire, blah blah blah, we'll go into that later. But on the bow, enfeebling poison shot. Poison shot applies weaken for 28% for 8 seconds. That's not counting the buffs that we have to increase that, but you couple enfeebling poison shot with the passive of Power Stone, and you can have dang near a 50% weaken on your target before they even touch you to start a fight off. It's incredibly powerful. It can be difficult to land the poison shot directly. It's not the easiest thing. It's not like an AoE explosive shot or something like that, so it can be difficult. That's the main focus of this build. If you miss your poison shot, you're definitely at a big disadvantage for this fight when you're talking about this build. So definitely want to focus on landing that, because the weaken lasts for 8 seconds, but we run perks on our ring and in the skill tree to extend that to where it's actually 14 seconds, which is crazy when you can have a weaken for that long that's that potent. It just works so well. You'll see in the clips, but anyways, this is the Duneborn bow, so it comes stock with enfeebling poison shot and Vorpal. So I put plagued crits on there because that just goes perfectly with this kind of disease build we're running. I definitely would not like Vorpal. If I could just snap my fingers and change the perks, I would definitely put like Sundering Stacks or something different, but it's not bad. I mean, when you hit those headshots, they're just hitting a little harder, but that is just the perk that that bow comes stock with, unfortunately. So yeah, that is the bow. For our heart rune, we are running vines. That gives us nature damage. That's how we're going to proc the nature damage aspect of things for the combo to maximize our elemental band. So that's going to be the weapons and the heart runes. As far as jewelry, running unimpeded, because I just think as a light build being mobile, it's just so nice to have that great perk. And then empowered and shrinking empower. Empowered is so nice for elemental band. It turns that 6-second empower to a 9-second empower, which just allows you to keep those stacks up easier, because it is kind of a game of, okay, you procced your flail elements, now you have X amount of time before you need to proc fire, then you need to proc lightning, then nation, so having that cycle be 9 seconds instead of 6 seconds, so nice. Also just pairs well with other things like the evasive tactics and the bow tree, that's just lasting longer. So the whole build kind of revolves around gaining empower and building that up, and so just having that last longer is awesome. And shrinking empowered, you're constantly dodging. Again, it just pairs well with that, so that you're having an extra source for that to help with empower. For the ring, definitely a key part of this build, elemental band. I put enfeebling on that, so that's what I was referencing earlier with how we extend all of our weekends and everything. So 33%, so literally a third of whatever those weekends are, is going to be increased. So, with the 8 seconds, it does round up, so it's a 3-second buff to that, so that's 11 seconds just with the enfeebling. Then there's a perk in the bow tree to extend that even more. So enfeebling is super nice. The weakens that we apply with both the flail and the bow just always getting extended. Super nice. Obviously, if I wanted to do higher DPS, I could put invigorating punishment. You could put something like that on here, but that's not the point of this build. This build is focused around applying these really powerful weakens that kind of just make your opponent question what's happening and whether or not they even have the right gear set on, or if their attributes are right, because they do their full combo and it does a third of the damage they're used to. So that's why we're running that. And then obviously the whole point of elemental band, when you hit a target with elemental damage, it does not trigger on dots or movements. Gain 4% power for 6 seconds. And so again, running the empowered, increasing that, turns that to 9 seconds, which makes that really nice. And there's a 10-second cooldown per damage type. So when you have the 9-second cooldown for each element and a 10-second cooldown on the damage type, it's very easy to keep that cycle constantly up. There's only literally 1 second of time in that window where if you did it too early, you wouldn't be able to reproc it, but very easy to just keep that cycle up, whether it's just doing one flail ability, boom, got both those elements, shooting one bow and arrow for the lightning to reproc, whatever it is. So that just pairs really well together. Then as far as the earring, empowering toast, again, just pairs really well with this whole idea of the build that you're doing, which is stacking empowers and getting to the empowering cap, which, don't worry, I know there's people probably out here like, oh my gosh, the empowering cap. We don't have any of, the elemental harnessing ring gloss, things like that, so it's not really a concern with hitting that. So I can run over the numbers for how the empowering works on this too. But empowering toast, refreshing toast, nimble, it's so hard to get used to once you don't run it. I just love it. You're constantly dodging, always needing that, so very beneficial to run that. And then refreshing toast, empowering toast, just constantly having your potions up, and then every time you drink a potion, just getting a little more power that also gets extended. So again, that's going to get 3 seconds extended, so that'll be 11 seconds. So that means every single time you drink your potion, you can constantly keep empowering toast up, because it lasts for 11 seconds and has a 10-second cooldown. So that just, again, works great so that you have constant uptime on that. So now, as far as the gear goes, the artifact that I'm running is Plague Herald. Again, just feeds perfectly into the build that we're running, which is the debuffs, the extended fight, the draining aspect of things. This isn't your, shot in the night 100-0 bow assassin build. This is the more drawn out fight where you're landing combos and chunking them down slowly, not just doing the absolute highest amount of DPS possible. And I found that this build is able to fight a different type of enemy that normal builds can't, because they're just too strong, whether it's like the full sender builds or bruiser builds. You'll see in these clips these guys that just full send onto me and they just do no damage to me. And I'm a light build, not even running featherweight. But just with all the weakens and everything, it really does have such a noticeable impact. So anyways, Plague Herald, I threw Enchanted Wood on there, so it's just versatile. It can help me with every single fight, whether it's a fire staff, a hatchet, a bow, a musket, whatever it is. Enchanted Wood just felt like a really safe option to put on there. And I definitely don't regret it, because with this build, you do have to get in there with the Flail. This isn't the type of build where you're just playing untouched. You're definitely in the mix, to say. And so I focused heavy on the Enchanted Wards, because you are in there taking hits so that you can apply those Flail weekends, so that you can do those combos. And so you kind of... The way that I've learned this build to work is that you kind of go in for your first rotation of abilities to apply everything, and you just have to survive through that. You might get chunked pretty hard, but then you can get the reset off, go back in, and they have all these weekends. And now the next round, you're just at a massive advantage, because not only are they heavily weakened, they're also plagued with heal cut. You're also super empowered, so it kind of just creates that gap. So that's why I like Enchanted Ward on this kit. As you can see on the other perks, we have 4 out of 4 refreshing and also 2 freedoms. I just like running 2 freedoms, especially with unimpeded. That gives you that maximum slow resistance. It gives you just survivability when you're playing the light build. I just really like running freedom, and I like running 2 of them, just because there's slows on every melee auto attack. There's slows on Ice Gauntlet, on Void Gauntlet, on the musket, on, just about everything. So I really like running it. Helps so much with survivability and just not getting caught up too much by CCs. So yeah, and the rune glass in there is just a moonstone with sighted rune glass, which doesn't count towards empowered cap. And again, you kind of get in the mix, and I've found that I fight a lot of melee players with this build, and melee players love slash damage, so I just put the moonstone in there to kind of try and index more rather than just doing 5 opals straight up. So yeah, next piece, very straightforward, sighted opal, vital synergy on a hoplite shirt. Super straightforward, not going to go into that. Next piece is a pen rapid shot hoplite covers. These have lightning rune glass. The bow is split with lightning damage, so I'm not too concerned about this. I could switch it. I just run this with my boltcaster build as well. So that's why it has lightning rune glass and not sighted, but it literally doesn't matter, because this bow is split with lightning damage, so no problem with having that. Running the pen rapid shot, because we don't have that on the bow. So it's just nice to have that on an armor piece. Definitely think that's necessary for a bow build. For the pants, these are custom Gorgonite pants that I made. I do really like all of these perks on here. So Shirking Energy, Hasted Vigor, and Freedom. Again, 2 stacks of Freedom, so this is where the second Freedom is. You always want to have 1 Hasted Vigor on your kit, so this is where my Hasted Vigor is. And then I'm not running the worm chest, so I have to have Shirking Energy on my pants, so it is on there. I just think that's a great perk as well that can save your life a lot when you get that extra little boost sometimes. So super happy with those pants. Sighted opal for the ring glass, very straightforward. And then for the boots, Enchanted Ward refreshing again with hardcore parkour. The reason I'm running this is because I use this build for 3v3s and free-for-all. This isn't like a war build or even so much an OPR build. I think it is just much more free-for-all zone and 3v3 oriented, because it's mainly a 1v1 type of build, small scale. And hardcore parkour is something that you actually do trigger all the time in those environments. OPR less, war less, but when you're playing 3v3, especially on the new map, on the desert map, when you're in the free-for-all zone, that you can proc this all the time, and it can make a huge difference. So I really like this piece. It's once again kind of a custom piece, a Gorgon's piece that was crafted. So I really like it. I think it's a cool perk to have that adds that extra bit of haste, which is massive. So yeah, that covers the gear set, the weapons, the jewelry. As far as the skill trees, pretty straightforward. I don't want to go into this too much. I will just say that explosive shot is necessary because of the fire damage. I recommend not running the concentrated version of it because it's harder to hit because it reduces the radius by like 60%. Um, Whereas this is much easier to land just that fire damage to ensure you get the empower from elemental band, and it still hits really hard. It's 135 compared to 170, so the 35%. It's definitely, when you do run that, it is nice. It definitely does crack, but for this build, it is just imperative to land the fire damage aspect of things. So I find it's just much nicer to not run the riskier version because you can, I mean, I feel like I land this explosive shot 90% of the time, only missing when they dodge. Whereas this one, they don't even have to dodge, and sometimes you just miss it because it's a very small pinpoint arrow that you have to hit. So that's my main thing. Other than that, pretty self-explanatory. The debuffs lasting 20% longer. That's the other thing I was talking about to extend our weekends and things like that. So definitely want to run that. That'll help your plague crits. That'll help your weekends. Poison shot does not trigger nature damage because of, like elemental band says, it does not trigger on dots or attunements. So that's why we don't run an attunement on the bow, and that's why we need nature damage in the heart rune, because this hits for thrust damage and then ticks for nature damage, so the tick doesn't actually apply it. I wish it did, but it does not. But yeah, pretty self-explanatory for the rest of the tree. If you didn't want to run triple rappies, you wanted to run rain of arrows or something else, you definitely could. It's not set in stone. Just with the way the skill tree is set up, I do think this is the best one to run. I played around with a lot of different variants. I messed around with pen shot instead of triple rappies because it felt really nice to kind of get the full empower and then crack a pen shot. But the triple rappies I just feel like my damage is so much lower when I can't just like pop a heavy straight into this. It's just so much damage. So I really like this, but again, poison shot and explosive shot are the two required ones for this build. Poison shot for the weakening and explosive shot for the fire damage. So that is that. I don't know where Flail is. It's right here. This is the Flail tree that I'm running. This, I mean, take it for what it is. I'd never run Flail in my life until about a week ago. So this is what I have found to run, which is just basically running all of the perks and abilities that can weaken. So for the Arcane Smite, the impairment, that is apparently the main thing in the flail tree is impairment, and so that applies to weaken. And then by running all the way down here to the end, adds another stackable weaken. With Arcane Eruption, you can extend the effects that you have on the weaken, as well as dealing stacks of impairment, 2 stacks with that ability, which applies that weaken. So all of these abilities just apply weaken, and then the trip is, the trip's just so good. And when they're weakened and you hit them, they get rend, you get fortified, so it just pairs really well with that. Even for just, the most fun thing to do is just trip someone and instantly swap explosive shot them. That's really satisfying. That's where the other flail could be really good too, the Odo, because you would get that bonus damage. But it's so niche that I just don't know if I would want to run the whole build doing that. But this is what I run for the flail tree. I think it works really well. You get all of the buffs and debuffs possible. I'm basically running every single attribute on the side that I can, besides these ones that really only help you when you're running a shield or when you're not a light. But basically, if you're light, none of these really help you. So that's what we're running for that. 4 attributes, super straightforward. 200 con, 25 focus, and then dump the rest in dex. You don't have to run the focus if you'd rather just dump that in dex. I just really value cooldown reduction. I'm running 4 refreshing with that, so my abilities are just constantly up, especially for trying to get that poison shot apply. I think this is the best. I tried getting away with like 100 con and running 100 strength so that my flail did more damage, but you just need to be as tanky as you can, especially without running featherweight. So I really like the 200 con. Helps you just get in there and survive a lot. So yeah, that is the build. I'm gonna roll some clips now so that you guys can see this build at work. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy the avatar build. This has been Bo King. I'm out. Peace.
Legendary outlaw from the east side, from the land of El Dorado. Now he's gone, disappeared. El Dorado. I don't think I can find him, no. Gone, disappeared. Oh, I don't think I can find him, no. In the 50s he was 10 feet tall, big and burly, one that you would call. If you ever found yourself in a situation, now he's just a ghost in your imagination. It was so long ago.